I bought this Ryobi Router Table about a year ago because I needed it for the Montessori bed that I made for my granddaughter. Let's see if it was a good decision or a bad decision. The overall construction of this is great. It's rigid enough that it doesn't rack during use, light enough that I can easily carry it around with no problem, and heavy enough that it doesn't move while I'm using it. And most importantly, I always feel safe, even when routing bigger pieces. However, I do recommend at least clamping it down when you're routing very big pieces. One of the really cool features about this is there's an extra receptacle to plug your shop vac in, so you can turn the shop vac and the router table on at the same time. The only thing about this that really bugs me is the cord length. Why is it so short? The funny part is, I didn't even notice how short it was until one of you guys commented about it in the unboxing video. At first, I was concerned about the MDF top. If you watched the unboxing video, you know that I was particularly concerned about the mounts for the fence. I live in Mississippi, where it gets ridiculously hot and humid, and as you can tell by the sweat pouring off of my fat head right now, my shop is not cooled or heated. So I was worried about the warping. But after a year, it's still just as flat as it was the day I put it together. But in all honesty, I mostly use this without the fence. The plate was easy to adjust and hasn't moved, so I've never had a piece catch on either side. My expectations for the fence was low, because that seems to be the case more often than not with cheap tools. But it works well. It comes with a feather board to keep everything safe and consistent. You can even adjust the left side so you can use this as a joiner. All you have to do is adjust this knob, push it up the distance that you want to remove, lock it in place, and set this side of the fence even with the bit. It works well, but it can be a little finicky to set up, and with such a small surface area, I wouldn't suggest using this in place of a joiner. This video was brought to you by me, so head on over to cornercreekwoodworking.com and check out our easy to follow plans for projects that are great to keep or to sell. And coming soon, 3D printed tools for your shop. The dust collection works pretty well most of the time. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the routers are always going to make a mess. And I agree. It's never going to be great, but there is one thing here that drives me crazy. It does fit a standard 2 1/4 inch shop vac hose, which is good, but the hole here is really small. Add into the fact that there's kind of a step to get to the hole on the inside, this thing has a tendency to clog fairly often. I'm no airflow specialist, and I can't pretend to be, but there's got to be a better way for this. If nothing else, if it was just sloped to get to that little hole, it seems like it would work a lot better. But overall, the dust collection actually works fairly well, as long as you have the fence close to the workpiece and it isn't clogged. Of course, that does nothing for what falls below the table, but I have an idea for that. So make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you won't miss it. I bought this router a couple of years ago because it was cheap. It's turned on every time, never overheated, never bogged down. The bit has never gotten stuck in the collet, and the collet has never come loose. So all that's great, but the lifting mechanism is not. I actually stripped it a little bit, trying to raise the router, not with a pair of pliers, just with my finger. And I know you're thinking, I'm probably the toughest man in the world, but I'm really not. So to lift this, you have to lift with one hand and adjust with the other. This isn't a deal breaker, it's just kind of a pain to deal with. And it takes a minute to get set exactly where you want it, but it locks nicely in place and doesn't move. So overall, you just can't beat it for the price. Overall, this has been one of the biggest bang for your buck purchases that I've ever made. Say that 10 times real fast. I cannot recommend this thing enough. While you certainly can buy one better, you're just not going to do it for this price. Check out the unboxing video for this Ryobi Router Table if you haven't already. I'll drop a link in the description. And click on this video right here. It'll change your life.